Latest football news,
engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George. As always, how are you doing? We're here for another week of football action. I'm so sorry we didn't have a show last week. We're all busy. Life is busy, unfortunately, at the moment. And, Dan got suspended as always. You know what he's like. He partied after that 6-0 and he went, George, I can't do it. And he's, but he's back now. And he's actually here. Dan, how are you doing? How are you? We haven't seen a lot of each other in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, too long.
Yeah, it's too long, isn't it? Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I just couldn't believe what happened with the 6-0. I just had to say, just tell you that I was still hungover from that.
Oh,
it's just such a rare thing to happen, isn't it?
It is such a rare thing. If you don't know, Town won 6-0. Yes, Town scored 6 goals. They decided to turn and play cricket instead of football because they're getting a little bit more success. But that is now in the past. And before we move on to what's coming up in today's show, I better mention the social media as always. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube and Mixer are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our previous shows, why not head over there? You'll see all our content there. You might enjoy it. Give us a like and subscribe as well while you're still there. So what is coming up in today's show? Well, we're going to be talking about Ipswich Town. They've had 2 games this week. Yes, a trip to Accrington Stanley. Yes, Accrington Stanley. And Gillingham as well. So I have to get my really high-pitched moment out of there. I don't know if you ever remember that. Was it the Accrington Stanley milk thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Well, every time we play Accrington Stanley, I see that. So
yeah, I'll never forget that. The Premier League game week number 7. Oh, what a game week it was. We had 2 of the title challengers clash in a very feisty game at Anfield. And also we have new league leaders. And we'll be talking about Watford. Yes, we're going to be talking about a club, finally, a Pacific club. Yes, Watford, because they've won the race for something that we all love to see. We always like to see who's going to win a Pacific race every single year, and they have won it, but we'll reveal what that is a little bit later on. But when we come back, we'll be talking about Ipswich Town and what happened against Accrington Stanley and Gillingham in the Papa John's Trophy. So don't go anywhere.
Stay up to date with the latest footy news.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George and Dan. As always, I hope you're all well. Hope you're enjoying the show. And let's move on to it because we'll be talking about Ipswich Town. But before we get there, I better mention the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube and Mixer are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our previous shows, do not worry. They're all up there. And if you like what you see, make sure you like and subscribe as well because, more content. You got to love it. You got to absolutely love it. Now, Ipswich Town. Oh, there's a lot of buzz around Ipswich Town after getting their first win at Portman Road in a cricket-like score. 6, a hit of Doncaster for 6 goals went in the back of net. I was absolutely stunned. Well, Dan was absolutely elated. I was absolutely stunned because what the heck was going on? I have no clue. Dan still doesn't know what's going on. He's just smiling. He don't know what's still going on.
No, I have no idea. I still can't believe he scored 6 goals.
I can't believe I missed out on 6 goals. But if I went, Dan, you know what happened. Doncaster would score 6. So
yeah, probably.
Swings and roundabouts. Maybe I am a little bit bad, Curse, a little bit bad, Johnson, but I'll keep going. I'll keep annoying Town fans. But this weekend, Paul Cook's side, they headed up to Accrington Stanley to play against one of Paul Cook's former sides. A few years ago, he used to manage Accrington Stanley. And funny enough, it was technically not his first game in charge, but his first game watching Ipswich Town. And they did win that. I think 2-1 in the end, wasn't it, Dan? It was part of Matt Gill's 3 wins on a bounce sort of era that happened at one point.
Oh, yeah. It was that weird time where Paul Lambert was still in charge, but he wasn't really doing anything. And then he left and Paul Cook was on the sidelines, even though he wasn't technically our manager yet, still shouting out instructions to our players, which was a very weird game that was. But we managed to win that one.
Very weird game, but you got to love it. But he played his former side in Accrington Stanley, who've had a great start to the season, 4 wins in the first 6 games, but then only 1 point from the last 4 games, see them sit down to 12th in League One. So surely, this had to be in Town's favour. But once again, as always, Ipswich Town, they let the lead slip again in a 2-1 defeat to Accrington Stanley. Dan, after that massive victory against Doncaster, a massive morale boost, a massive everything, we saw a very different Ipswich Town side. But this just shows what football's like sometimes. You could be on top of the world, but then you could be down the dumps the next game here.
Yeah, I think that's League One in a nutshell, really, isn't it? Yeah, it's really, really disappointing because I think this was probably a big opportunity, seeing as Accrington, they seem to concede a lot of goals, don't they? And we've proven that we can score a lot of goals from the last game. So it was really, really disappointing performance and disappointing result. I think first half, it was one of them games where it could have gone either way. We managed to get the opener, even though it was, scrappy and quite even. But yeah, it was really disappointing second half. And I guess they kind of bullied us off the ball mostly in the second half. It was kind of that kind of game where I guess we wanted to play out on the floor and play nice football, but sometimes that's not going to work in this league. And sometimes you need to be ruthless and bully teams. And I guess that's what Accrington did to us, and that's how they got the result. And I think that's how they kind of play in this league, isn't it? So it's not like Paul Cook and the players didn't know that this was going to happen. It's happened every time we've gone to Accrington Stanley. It's kind of a bogey stadium for us, really, isn't it? Except that one win, obviously, last season. I think the 2 times before that, maybe one in the FA Cup. We just didn't put in a performance there.
Yes.
So yeah, it was really disappointing, and we really needed a result after the 6-0 to boost the confidence even more. But that didn't happen, and it was a bitter pill to swallow, really, because it was such a poor performance in the end.
Yeah, a very, very bitter pill. So for the Ipswich Town players, but also for the fans. But Paul Cook, as always, after the game, spoke quite honestly, as he always does, and he described the size performance as absolutely shocking. It is a result and a display which brings everybody crashing back down to earth 4 days on from that 6-0 home thrashing at Doncaster Rovers. We didn't turn up. It's crazy, Dan, how in the space of 4 days, only 4 days here, Town absolutely ran riot past Doncaster, but then they just come back down to earth with a bump. But it sort of does show you a lot. You can't take anything for granted in this league. This shows that anybody can be anyone, but you shouldn't think you're going to walk into a game. And I think that sort of, maybe that was around the club a little bit at the time with the players. I think Paul could maybe not had that, but with some of the players, maybe there's a little air of, they're not going to be a problem. We're going to breeze past them. Look, they've only got 1 point from the last 4 games. They conceded goals left, right, and centre. But it sort of shows to them as well, they can't do that in this league, and they can't take their form for granted.
No, they can't. And you'd look on paper at our squad and you'd say we could beat anyone in this league. But League One doesn't work like that. You need to work hard to get results. And Paul Cook knows that, and he says that in every single interview he does, pretty much. So I can understand why he's disappointed. And I agree with what you said. It's just so strange how much of a difference a few days can make, because on Tuesday, after the 6-0, there was no one saying Cook out at that point, was there? They were all quiet. But the Cook out brigade were back in force again on Saturday, which I don't agree with personally. But yeah, I can tell why he says them things and why he's so disappointed, because I think he knows himself that a lot of work is needed to beat teams in this league, because they'll bully you, as I said before, and he just didn't get that from his players on Saturday. And I think it's these games going on in this season that we'll fall down on. So we just need to work hard and look at what we need to do to get these results, because we just look a bit soft really against teams like Accrington, and there's so many teams like that in this league.
Yeah, there's a lot more. Well, it sounds bad. There's a lot more Actons, in the league. But yeah, a little bit soft. But also as well, the new Ipswich Town captain. I think we can now call him that, the new town captain. He is, isn't he? Sam Morsey, he admitted the side has let everybody down. As they describe it, it's horrible, disgusting, and it's like a non-league size playing. It's good to see the new sort of how the new mentality now runs through the club. I think if this happened last season, a performance like this, it would have been why are you dissing the players? They're all young players, 35-year-olds now, the new 21, all this sort of stuff. It would have all sort of been all sugar coated, but it's not here, which is great to see the new mentality being instilled. But it's a disappointment they couldn't build on that win, because that was such a high. That was what they needed. They needed to get over that hurdle just to sort of settle the nerves and get things starting to go in, but they weren't there. But it sort of shows as a big reality check for the side, but also as well, they're lacking a little bit that bite. We sort of saw a little bit last season with the other town side. I think Stephen Ward kept going about one game. I can't remember, but about the streetwise of the side, there's none of that there. But for them, they just need to just have a little bit more buy and just realize that they can't do everything. They can't win a game easily, but they're going to have to be honest about it and go, we were bad today, but we've got to improve the next game.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing we've lacked in actually a lot of years previous, is the honesty. And I'm pleased to see that we're getting that from our players and managers. And it's good to see Sam Morsey, who I don't think he expected to be a team who are 19th in League One, losing away to Accrington last season. I'm sure he's a bit disappointed with that. I still don't know how we've got him, to be honest, in League One. But yeah, I think I guess this result kind of puts the 6-0. It doesn't really mean anything anymore, does it? I think that hurts to say that, because it was such a good game and such a good performance against Doncaster. But you need to build on it, and we've said so many times in this league that momentum is key. And Sunderland at the moment, they're on a mad run, and they're top of the table, and that's what they're doing right. It's the momentum. And I'll say it again, and I'll back this. I think on paper we've got one of the best squads in the league. I won't say the best. One of the best squads in the league. But one, we can't have individual players. We need to play as a team. And two, you need to be able to beat teams like Accrington. It just needs to be done. And no disrespect to Accrington, because I think I think they've had the same manager for 20 odd years now. Maybe not 20, 10 odd years now. They've risen from nothing really. So no disrespect to them. But I guess you look at the players we have, you'd think we'd be able to beat them. And that's just what we need to improve. We need to be able to, grab the games by the neck, and, we got no problem scoring goals. So we just need to be stronger, I guess.
Don't fall asleep. I think that's the line. Well, Town, they didn't have long to dwell on this result, as another game was around the corner, and this time it was in everybody's favourite cup competition. Yes, the Papa John's Trophy. The competition I'm very disappointed about, because you don't win a pizza trophy, you win a cup. I think it should be a shield, a pizza trophy, a shield. I think that would make it more entertaining. It'd make me want to go and see the final, wouldn't it? Well, it'd be a doubt, won't it? But it's like, but we saw Paul Cook make 11 changes from the game on Saturday, with some big names starting. A lot of first teamers in there. Cole Edwards, Joe Piggott, Connor Chaplin, Raheem Harper. Caden Jackson was back. Where has he gone? He's come back, and he's back again once again. Toto Enciala, but also a few players from the cold, especially Kenlock. Did not expect that at all. He's back as well. But for Town, they netted 2 goals to win the game from Piggott and Chaplin in a 2-0 win against Gillingham. Dan, it's a perfect way to bounce back from Town after that game on Saturday. But for Paul Cook's side here, this could be a moment for them, because I know a lot of Town fans are not interested in this trophy, and that's fair enough. Yeah, it's not an interesting trophy. We all know the reputation this cup competition has from previous iterations of it. But for Paul Cook as well, he's had to change his opinions on this, and a win here could be what his side needs, because there's a lot of players that don't play, but a big confidence boost around the club as well.
Yeah, no matter what competition it is, a win's a win, isn't it? And you can't say anything against that. And he said in his interviews before that this was a good chance for players not getting in the starting 11, and obviously they showed that. It seemed like a really comfortable win. Some of the players in there, I was surprised to see. He said Miles Kenlock. I don't know where on earth he's come from. I read that he's not even registered for the squad. He can't even play in the league because he's unregistered.
Oh,
so he just came back in. Jackson as well. I mean, he got a really good assist as well. So not going to complain about that. But yeah, I mean, it's good to get a win in these games, even though a lot of fans don't care, including me, really, unless we get to Wembley. I'm not going to really care much about it. But yeah, it's a comfortable win against Gillingham, and after the game against West Ham, which I was at and was really, really awful. I guess good to get that first win on the board, and I think all the teams in our group have 3 points, which is a bit strange. So going into the last game, it could go either way. But yeah, I'm not going to complain because it's 3 points and we performed well, and that would, as you said, it will be a confidence boost to the club.
Yes, it'll be a big confidence boost. But Paul Cook, he's very happy that the lads took the opportunity and it did them the world of good. He described them. But as I said earlier, he's changed his opinions on the Papa John's Trophy after that poor start to the season. We saw at the West Ham game, he said that we have to win this. And I think, if he had a good start to the season, he'd be like, we won't need to focus on it as much. But when the opportunity arises, it's good to see that they're taking it with both hands here, which is something we're sort of seeing, about that bite. But it's good to see it. But also as well, for the players who are not making the start 11, we saw Piggott, who was starting the first few games of the season, he's dropped out because of McKelly Bond's form. Chapman's sort of been on the fringes here and there. Carl Edwards has had an injury, unfortunately, and it looks like he might not get back into the side now with sort of how well some of the other players do. And Raheem Harper, he's recently dropped out. Toti Ensala as well, who had a good start to the season, done his hamstring as well. Kane Vincent Young played in this game. He's been sort of had a bit of a poor start himself, and now Donatian's in there and doing very well. Miles Kenlock, he's out in the cold. Wolfenden as well got a clean sheet and didn't make a mistake, which I know sounds bad. It's a little bit rare for him. And also Thomas Holy as well, who started as well. We all know what Thomas Holy can do on his day when he actually decides to move and try and save the ball. I'm sorry, Thomas. I'm sorry. I just have a bit of a problem with somebody who's that tall, can't dive. Also in the training bits when the strikers have to hit the ball in the back of the net. So, sorry. But you know what I mean? It's good for these players, but also as well, give Paul Cook a few options, especially heading to this game against Shrewsbury, possibly with a few players out, they can perform.
Yeah. I guess these players putting in a good performance, it gives Paul Cook I guess it puts the question in his mind whether he should be playing them more. And I think it's games like these, isn't it? It's going to be these games, and I was going to say the League Cup, but we're out of that, aren't we? The FA Cup. The FA Cup. It's just a huge opportunity for the players that aren't getting starts and that could easily could get in the first team, couldn't they? As you said, we've seen these players play in the league. So, yeah, I think for them to have good performances is really important. I guess coming up against Gillingham, who we know what their manager's like. And I think he actually saying that, he said something after the game, didn't he? Apparently our goals are offside.
He said the officials are getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
Was one of the comments I heard. I have to say, right, he comes up with a new excuse each time. Steve Evans.
Yeah.
I swear it's only when we play them. It is always an excuse, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the kind of manager he is. But I don't think they played their strongest side. And I know, as we said before, it's this cup competition that I guess isn't really going to be remembered, is it? It's not going to be one of the things we remember this season. But the opportunity's there. I guess players like Pigott, like Chaplin. I guess all of these players, Louis Barry as well.
Louis Barry.
I forgot about him. He hasn't really got an opportunity in the league, has he? I just think these players need to take these games by the scruff of the neck and really put a question in Paul Cook's mind and put in some good performances, because I think that's what makes a good squad, doesn't it? We have depth in our squad at the moment. We've got players in all positions. If there's an injury, especially in attacking areas, we've got them players that can come in. So it's always good to get a win in these competitions, even if it's not really cared about as much.
Yes, we'll have to wait and see. Well, Town, they are playing on Saturday. We're going to look at the game a little more in depth here, because we know that Town fans are not interested in the Papa John's Trophy. We know a few players not, but the win here, very important for the side. We know there's one player away on international duty. I thought it was a few. It's only one. Selena. He's away on international duty with Kosovo. Am I right? It's Kosovo, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. I doubted myself there for a second. I thought, is it Kosovo? But it is Kosovo. With a lot of players struggling for fitness and a few performing quite well in the Papa John's Trophy, who have sort of been on the fringes here and there. Selena out. Somebody's got to replace him. Surely this would be a massive morale boost for everybody with the win overall. But for a few players who play in this game, could they be maybe eyeing up a first team start on Saturday against Shrewsbury here?
Yeah, they could be. And maybe that's why Paul Cook played, I guess, Pigott, Chaplin and Harper, who would be the obvious players to come in. Or Edwards. Oh, yeah, of course, because he could put Fraser in the middle. So, yeah, 4 of them players that could have a chance of coming in straight away. Maybe that's why he played these players. And maybe that's what Paul Cook told them in the dressing room. Look, there's a place up for grabs here. Just show me what you can do and you'll be considered. It's going to be interesting to see who he picks, because Selena's been such an important player for the last 3 games. I thought he was excellent against Doncaster. I think his vision and some of the passes he plays are just amazing. Again, a player that I don't understand how we've got him. I can't believe we've got him back. It's surreal seeing him at Portman Road again. But that with him being out, which is a disappointment in itself. But the good thing is we've got the backup, haven't we? We've got the depth in our squad, and we've got so many players that can come in. Out of the 4, I'd say it would be Chaplin to come straight in to the squad out of the 4. I think Edwards has a chance, but I think he's not going to be risked after the injury he had. He'll be on the bench, so I'm going to say Chaplin's going to come in. But again, it's these games which aren't really cared about as much that give that opportunity to get in the first team squad. And I might be wrong. It might be Harper that comes in at number 10, because he's kind of that player now. Paul Cook sees him as that.
Yes.
So yeah, who knows?
Who knows? It'd be interesting to see what happens on Saturday. Well, we better look at this game now. Town, they are home. They're looking to bounce back after last Saturday's trip to Accrington Stanley. Want to make it 2 wins at Portman Road this season. So far, they haven't done that in a long time. I'll tell you that much. It's a long time. I couldn't tell you when. Dan couldn't even tell you when, because
no.
I don't think any of us know, actually. I don't know what.
I've done research.
Yeah, it's too much research for me today. But Shrewsbury, they are in town today, who have been struggling this season. Only 2 wins from the first 11 games. Same as Town, actually, because Town have only got 2 wins from the first 11 games. But they are struggling a little bit. They're down in 23rd place. But there are only 2 points that separate the sides here, as Town are in 19th and they are in 23rd. Dan, Town, they won on Tuesday in the Papa John's Trophy, but in the league, it's a little bit of a different story for them. Hit and miss form for them, 6-0 against Doncaster, then losing 2-1 to Accrington Stanley. But for Shrewsbury here, there's possibly a chance to snatch a win here against what we can maybe say a bit of an inconsistent Town.
Yeah, I think there's always a chance for that. But, even though we lost on Saturday, I think the win on Tuesday will give a bit of confidence. And I think Paul Cook will get these players rolled up for this game. I'm quite confident going into it, actually, which never really happens after a loss in the league, I guess, does it? I think we've got enough to play against Shrewsbury. No disrespect to them, but they've had a meh start to the season, haven't they? As well, same as us, inconsistent as well. So I think our squad's strong enough to get past them, and I'm going to say it's not going to be a 6-0 like it was against Doncaster, because I don't think that'll happen again this year. But I think it'll be a 2-0 win. I think it'll be hopefully quite comfortable. I'm just confident going into it, and hopefully the players are as well.
Yes, it is. Wow, 2-0 down has gone for Ipswich Town versus Shrewsbury. What do you think that's now on that pitch? I talk. What's your score position for Ipswich Town versus Shrewsbury Town, or Strawberry Town, as they were once called many years ago? But yeah, that's everything for Ipswich Town this week. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Premier League. Yes, the Premier League. We had two of the biggest sides of the last few seasons clash in a highly anticipated game. A last-second winner, and also a big team drop points. So, don't go anywhere.
The best place in Ipswich to hear the latest football debates, Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello, and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. It's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan, as always. And well, before we move on, talking about the Premier League this week, I better mention the social medias, because if not, I will forget. And I seem to always forget. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram's at Talk_Pitch. YouTube and Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. And don't worry, if you missed anything from today's show, do not worry. 6 p.m. on YouTube and Mixcloud. This show will be up as it's finished on IO Radio. It will be up for you to listen back to whenever you want to. You can listen to us talk about Ipswich Town as they played at Accrington Stanley and Gillingham this week in the league and in the Papa John's Trophy. Well, Premier League was back for game week number 7 before the international break kicked into gear. And well, game week number 7 had lots to live up to after the thrilling game week number 6 we had. We had two of the biggest sides in the last few seasons clash in a highly anticipated game at Anfield. A last-second winner, and also a big team dropped points once again. So let's have a check through these results from game week number 7. We start off with a 1-1 draw between Manchester United and Everton. Man U dropping points to Everton. Burnley and Norwich, they drew 0-0 as Norwich picked up their first point of the season. Chelsea won 3-1 against Southampton as they went top. Leeds won 1-0 against Watford. Wolves won 2-1 against Newcastle. And Brighton drew 0-0 with Arsenal. And then moving to Sunday, we have Crystal Palace. They drew 2-2 with Leicester as they came back from 2 goals down. Tottenham won 2-1 against Aston Villa. West Ham, they lost 2-1 to Brentford in the dying seconds of the game there at London Stadium. And we won't mention the last one because we're just about to talk right now as two of the biggest teams in the last few seasons, where the last 4 titles have gone between these two sides. Yes, Liverpool versus a Manchester City clashing at Anfield in a highly anticipated game, which could see one of the sides, if they won, go top of the league with a win. But the game didn't disappoint, and it was a thrilling 2-2 draw at Anfield as KDB's late deflected shot cancelled out Mo Salah's moment of genius goal, which stunned everybody. But Dan, what a game to watch. For the neutral here, had everything you needed in it: drama, action, golden opportunities to score. It had the lot. And it was a thrilling game to watch. But for Liverpool here, they would be a little bit disappointed that they should have won the game with Fabinho's golden opportunity, which Man City kept out from Rodri's incredible tackle. I was absolutely stunned it didn't go in. But for Man City here as well, they would be a little bit disappointed as well, because they had a golden opportunity in the first half to put the game to bed. Liverpool went to sleep after 20 minutes. They decided that we're going to wake up in the next half because Man City absolutely ran right around them and didn't score. But does a point seem a fair result here for both sides?
I think in the end, a draw is a fair result. Yeah. such a big occasion when these two teams meet nowadays, isn't it? They're one of the best two clubs in the country, maybe even in the world. So it's always going to be a massive occasion. And the I guess the players on show as well is always going to bring that extra. And this, as expected, it was a brilliant game. I only watched the first half. I'm going to be honest, not a very good football fan, am I? But yeah, I thought Man City should have taken the lead in the first half, and they had quite a few opportunities. So I think they'll be definitely disappointed with that, not going into the lead at half time, which we don't know what could have happened if they were in the lead at half time. But obviously the second half was really good contest, and some of the goals on show as well were brilliant. Actually, both the Liverpool goals were absolutely fantastic, so especially Salah's goal. I think if Messi scored that, we'd be talking about that for years to come, wouldn't we? So, yeah, absolutely fantastic. It's just them bits of quality, isn't it, that separate teams, and a draw is a fair result because these teams are finally balanced, and hopefully that's a sign of things to come during the season. I really want it to be a race to the end this year, and hopefully this game shows that.
Hopefully that game did show as well. Well, we have one side that shot to the top of the table. Yes, it was Chelsea, as Thomas Tuchel's side put their consecutive defeats to bed, and behind them in a 3-1 win over Southampton, continuing Southampton's a winless start to the year. Dan, Chelsea, they hit back, they're back on top after that sort of sticky patch of form, which you saw for Thomas Tuchel's men. They lost against Man City in the league, then they lost in Turin to Juventus, but they're now back on top, which for them, they need to get back on top with sort of Liverpool, City and United all dropping points. It's a big weekend for them. But for Ralph Hasenhüttl Southampton here, a little bit concerning heading to the international break. No win from the first 7 games, winless in the last 9 Premier League games. We all sort of know about Southampton. They sort of do struggle, but this is a little bit more concerning, the struggling this time.
It is concerning, yeah, and it's a team that I think at the start of the year when we did our predictions, I think I put them to go down. I think you said they'd stay up but yeah, I think it's a squad that can, they have the quality to stay up, but a start like this is not going to help. And they lost some key players. Obviously, we know about the players they lost during the summer. That had a big effect on their side last season. So to come into a campaign without them is going to be tough. And some of the players they brought in are decent, but are they as good as what they had before? That's a question. So yeah, I think if I was a Southampton fan, I'd be fairly worried right now. Obviously, it's still early, isn't it? There's still time for things to turn around, and I think they have enough to do it. They just need to grind out results, because I think it's going to be tight around the bottom end of the table this year. It looks like it's going to be tight. I guess the teams around there are Burnley, Newcastle. Well, we don't know what could happen with Newcastle after what happened today. But I think it's going to be a slog of a season really for Southampton, but they could still stay up. I still think if they believe they could stay up. But for Chelsea, another good win, and they're looking good, aren't they? And I think at the moment they'd be favourites to win the league. I think the signing of Lukaku was absolutely massive for them, and they've really started well. There's going to be bumps in the road as we've seen so far, but if they can keep at this, I think there's going to be, as I said before, with Man City and Liverpool, hopefully it'll be tight, but I'd say they're favourites coming out of these games at the moment. And I think getting the win when Man City and Liverpool are drawing is crucial. Even at any point in the season, I think it's crucial for them to get a result at that point.
Yes, very crucial for them. Well, we're going to now look through the Premier League table after game week 7 before we move on to our next bit, because the international break has now struck, so we have a little bit of time to look at this table and savour some of the positions some of the teams are in at the moment. I know Dan likes who's bottom of the Premier League table at the moment. And we'll start off with that. So bottom is currently Norwich. Then it's 19th is Newcastle, 18th is Burnley, 17th is Southampton. Leeds are in 16th. Watford are in 15th. 14th is Crystal Palace and Leicester in 13th. 12th is Wolves. Arsenal are 11th. Aston Villa are 10th. West Ham are 9th. Spurs are 8th. Brentford are in 7th with Brighton just ahead in 6th. Everton are in 5th. Manchester United are 4th. Man City are 3rd. 2nd is Liverpool. And 1st is Chelsea. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about Watford. Yes, Watford. What have they been doing? Well, they've won a race in something. I don't want to reveal it just yet, but when we come back, we will. So stay tuned.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on iRadios Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George and Dan, as always. Now, before we move on, talking about Watford this week. Yes, Watford, yes. I mean that. We're talking about Watford. That's strange for us. And we'll be, I better mention social media. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube, Mixcall are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our previous shows, or do not worry. If you want to listen back to this show right here, this show right now, you're listening to right now, do not worry. 6 p.m. on Friday on a YouTube Mixcall. It'll be uploaded so you can listen back to it whenever you want to. And listen back to us talking about Ipswich Town, Accrington versus Gillingham in League 1 and the Papa John's Trophy, and also the Premier League as well, Gameweek number 7. But we better move on talking about Watford. And on Sunday, they won the race, Watford, to sack their manager. Yes, the first manager won the sack race this season in the Premier League after his side lost 1-0 to Leeds in a quite disappointing performance. Yes, Xisco is out the door. He paid the price for an indifferent start for Watford, but the owners, they had enough after 7 games and Xisco was out. Despite his Watford side sitting 15th with 7 points, 2 wins on the board from the first 7, but that wasn't enough to save his job. Dan, the Watford owners strike again. The revolving door of managers continues to spin around, but for Xisco, he said his time ended in the way that neither he expected or neither he wished for. But thoughts on this decision here, because one of the main reasons he's been sacked for was not getting the best out of the players on a consistent basis.
It's absolutely. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. Actually, I think the first thing I did was just sigh because it's just typical Watford, isn't it? But yeah, how long is this going to keep going on? That the managers stay for. How long? I think he was there for, did you say 10 months?
10 months he was there for.
You know, did really well with them. They got them up in the first place from the Championship and has them in 15th, which for Watford, I don't think is a bad position. They might have been a little bit inconsistent, but I think being 15th at this point in the season, that gives them a platform, doesn't it? But obviously, the owners don't think like that. And they never have since they took over, have they? Yeah, it's absolutely mental. I don't agree with it. I didn't agree when they sacked Nigel Pearson. I don't agree with it now at all, but whatever works for them, I guess. It's going to be interesting to see how long the new manager lasts. It's going to be really interesting to see whether he can turn it around. And I'm not sure where the Watford owners want them to be. You know, they haven't got an amazing squad in the Premier League. So I just don't get where they want them to be. I don't understand it. I really don't. It baffles me the way they run that club.
Everybody's baffled by it. I think wasn't that one season they sacked 3 managers in one season and still got relegated? Oh,
yeah.
Gosh, nobody knows. Well, the Watford owners, they wasted no time in finding the new successor to Xisco for the Watford job. They'd be their 14th manager since 2012 when they actually took over the club. And well, the next man they appointed is a Premier League winner, loved by many football fans across the world. Yes, it is Claudio Ranieri. Yes, ding. He is back. He's back in the Premier League, managing his 21st club in his 35-year career. Dan, we all love Claudio Ranieri. You know, it's hard to deny. We absolutely love him for what he did at Leicester. Absolutely, truly fairy tale moment. But the last time he was in the Premier League, It only lasted 106 days with Fulham. He was sacked because the club were facing relegation at the time under him. Does this now feel like Watford are now well and truly could be possibly in a relegation battle when they weren't in one at the first place? But with Claudio, can he do what they want to do in this Premier season and survive for another year?
It's going to be tough, and I think is Ranieri a good manager in this league? Yes, but I think this task for him is too similar to the Fulham job he had. I think at the time they didn't have a great squad. Was that the time where they spent loads of money?
Yeah, Jovankovic was in charge of the club at the time. The Sheffield United manager now, isn't he?
I know who you mean. Yeah, I just can't remember his name right now. But so maybe they did have the players, but it just screams like quite a similar job he's got on his hands to them, because he's taken over a club who I think will be in a relegation scrap. I think whoever they appoint, really, I just don't think their squad's good enough. I think they've got some decent players, and I think that Emmanuel Dennis, I think his name is, isn't it? He's had a very good start to this season and looks a quality striker in this league. They've definitely got quality in that squad, but I just think it's going to be too much of a task for him. I'd love to see him do well, because we know what he can do in this league. I mean, it's simple that he could be a great manager in this league, but I just think it's with an ownership who he knows will want to sack him at the earliest point possible. If things don't go right with the squad that he has, I just can't see it going well for him. Unfortunately, it's hard to say it, I guess, but can we see him being here till the end of the season? I know he signed a new 2-year deal, but let's see what happens, because my head says that it's not going to go well for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, it doesn't look very good at the moment, but Claudio Ranieri, his first game in charge of Watford will be a home game against Liverpool. Of all the sides he had to choose, he got Liverpool. What can we possibly expect? Because one of the reasons that Zisco was sacked because of not getting the best out of the players. Can Ranieri do that and possibly pull off a shock here and beat title challenging Liverpool? But we all know Watford have a good record against Liverpool at Vicarage Road. We all know they beat them the last time these two sides played at Vicarage Road, in that 3-0 win. That sort of ended Liverpool's sort of run. Also, they did draw 3-3 on the opening game of the season a few seasons ago. Liverpool did just win them narrowly. So Watford have a good record against Liverpool. But can Claudio pull off a win here?
You couldn't get a tougher game, could you, for your first one? I think that's the one thing Ranieri can do, is get his players together. And that's the main thing he did at Leicester when he took over. So I think he's got no trouble there. Whether they can go straight into this game against Liverpool after having a new manager and win the game, it's going to be tough for them to do that, isn't it? You can't really see anything but a Liverpool win for me. And hopefully that doesn't shed light on his tenure, because you can't get a tougher game to start with. And hopefully the owners notice that. And if it doesn't go to plan in the first game, then they'll give him a bit of a chance in the next one. I don't know how they play after that. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be an easy game for them at all, and it's going to be a Liverpool win, I think.
Well, then that's what Dan's thoughts are on Claudio Ranieri being appointed as the Watford boss back in the Premier League. We all know what he can do, but what will he be able to do at Watford? It'll be another story. And Watford sacking another manager, as always. And before we go, we have a very quick football roundup for you. We only have one bit of news this week. We've got some very big news. Newcastle United fans, get excited now, as the takeover by the Saudi Arabian backed has gone through. The takeover for £300 million of Newcastle has been completed, which now means that Mike Ashley's 14-year spell as Newcastle owner is now over, and the fans are now gathering outside St James Park, partying as the takeover has happened. So now Newcastle back with the big boys, and I've got a lot of money to spend. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Newcastle later on down the line. And Dan, that's everything for the show this week. We've run out of football news. What are we going to do? We're going to have to wait a week, aren't we, to restock on some football news?
Yes, we are. I'm sure there'll be a lot more next week.
I'm
Hopefully
sure
an
there will
Ipswich
be.
win.
Yeah, and Ipswich win. Or Ipswich playing twice this week, or is that me thinking that? No,
Um,
they don't. No, they don't do
No,
that.
I don't think so, no.
Disappointing. Well,
Game.
yeah, one game. Well, Dan, I want to thank you very much for joining me as always. I'll see you next week. We will be doing a show next week. Hopefully, touch wood. That's me touching wood. That's the sound effect. Listen, that's wood. Believe me, please. But if you want to follow us on our social media, it's pretty simple. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's at Talk_Pitch, YouTube, Instagram, both at Pitchside Talk. And if you've missed anything from today's show, do not worry. It'll be up in a few minutes' time, 6 p.m. on Fridays on the YouTube Mix Cloud. If you want to let's talk about the Watford job, new manager in charge of Watford won't reveal, just two, Premier League and Ipswich Town this week. So I've been George. He's been Dan. As always, we'll see you next week and ciao.
Yeah.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.